last 2 years, a lot of Republicans in Washington have been trying to figure out how to get you to join them. I've been trying to get them to join you. And it sounds like the Republicans here in North Carolina have gotten the message. And I'd love to hear what you guys are accomplishing over there in Raleigh. Thank you for being here. A lot of you caught my arm and thanked me on the way in for what I've been doing. I'm here to thank you. Because it's not me who put the spine in the Republican Party. It's the American people who stood up and took to the streets, spoke out, and made a huge difference in the last elections. Frankly, scared a lot of Republicans the way they needed to be scared. And I think you've got a party now in Washington and all over the country that you can trust. And we need to figure out how to work together to make sure that 2012 is twice what 2010 was. You know, President Obama has said that he's going to win the future. That's just another way, based on his record, of saying why do today what you can put off tomorrow. He wants to put off cutting spending and debt till tomorrow. He's going to put off keeping health care costs contained until tomorrow. He's going to put all of that off until tomorrow. But we can't afford to wait for him to leave. And apparently he is not going to leave. The point I want to make today is whenever Americans come together, stand together, like you are tonight, it's a celebration of freedom. And I'm honored to join your celebration here tonight in Charlotte. Thank you for coming out. Your presence really in the grassroots activism that we see all across the country is really the hope for America. Because our Constitution guarantees that our destiny is controlled by the people of the United States, not the government. But the people, when they abdicate that, the government takes over. And we've seen that over a couple of decades. And in 2010, we began to see that change again. Because what really shocked Washington is, for the first time in decades, the real power in this country began to shift out of Washington back into the hands of the American people. And it's fundamentally changed how people in Washington are thinking right now. We know that the state of this union is not decided by one politician in Washington pontificating to other politicians in marble walls. It's decided right here in our homes, in our churches, in our businesses, and our civic organizations by people who are determined to live and work in freedom. That's how you're going to make the difference. Over the last 2 years, we've seen an unimaginable expansion of the power and the scope of the federal government. But on November 2nd, we saw a different kind of power. The power that Americans are supposed to have when they go to the polls and change things fundamentally. Many of you were a part of what I call a great American awakening. And it really was an American awakening that I think is going to change America from here on out. I was in the arena with a lot of you were out fighting out in the hinterlands. I was trying to change the United States Senate. I was told by one of our leaders a couple of years ago to relax, stop causing trouble, you can't change the Senate. That was a particular kind of challenge for me. And what I did over the last couple of years was really just a small part of what Americans did. But when I saw our leadership get behind Arlen Specter in Pennsylvania to be reelected, after he had sold us out on so many votes, I got behind Pat Toomey, who they told me could not win in Pennsylvania. A conservative could not win there. They criticized and lectured me that I was putting principles before numbers, and that it was numbers that really made the difference. I made things a little bit worse when I said publicly I'd rather have 30 Republicans who believe in the principles of freedom than 60 who don't believe in anything at all. With Senator Pat Toomey, because of the people of Pennsylvania and all across the country just said that's totally different. That a conservative who believes in principles can be elected anywhere. When I saw my leadership get behind Charlie Crist for Senate in Florida, after I'd seen Charlie Crist embrace President Obama because of his big stimulus plan, I got behind Marco Rubio, who was 35 points behind in the polls. It was really me getting behind the people of Florida and millions of people all over the country who were ready for something different. And now I serve with Senator Marco Rubio because he represented the principles of the American people and the principles of freedom that I think you're here for tonight. I got behind the people of Kentucky when they stood with Rand Paul and the establishment didn't. But I'm not alone anymore in Washington because Rand Paul has said he wants to make me look like a moderate. That's the kind of help I need right now. Mike Lee from Utah, they said, could not win. But now he's got the gold standard as far as the legislation to balance a budget with a constitutional amendment. Businessman Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, they said he had no way of winning. And my little Senate Conservatives Fund, that's just an internet site, raised over $9 million for these candidates last year. And it wasn't me. The average contribution was $45. And many times we would get a check for $20 and they'd say we'd send another when we get paid again. Because they wanted to make a difference and they knew we needed to change. First the Republican Party, so that we could change the Senate. And then we could take back our government. You know, I don't need to remind you the miserable record of 4 years of Democrats controlling the Congress and 2 years of President Obama. We could spend a good bit of time on the failed programs, the false promises. But I do need to remind you, and remind all of us, of why these otherwise good and decent people think they've been doing the right thing. Frankly and unfortunately, they don't understand America or how it works. I hate to say about anybody I serve with, but they really have forgotten the principles of freedom that made America the greatest country that's ever been on the face of the earth. And they completely lost sight of the fact that America is a nation of destiny that's been blessed by God and used by God to bless the whole world. A country with a destiny like ours needs to be in control of our own destiny. But I'm afraid that we've lost that. Our Constitution guarantees that the people control our destiny, not the government. And since our very beginning, the American settlers inspired the whole world with our sense of independence and personal responsibility. The example they set by their love of marriage and family, the foundations of our society. That work ethic that's willing to sacrifice and persist to raise the standard of living for themselves and their families and their communities. That sense of responsibility has been an inspiration to the whole world. And we've seen the whole world look in on us and want to become like us. We're seeing it now in the Middle East and other places who are just tired of living in tyranny when they can see that Americans live in freedom. The strength of our culture, our economy, and our political system really comes back to the individual.